Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rohit, your host for today's discussion, and I couldn't be more thrilled to welcome you to this special edition of Shared Future, where we explore what's next at the intersection of people, performance, and technology. Today's topic, that is GCCs, GenAI, and next frontier of people analytics, dives into one of the most urgent and exciting transformations in HR. As global capability centers evolve into strategic hubs, generative AI is not just supporting HR, it's supercharging it. From predicting attrition to tailoring growth journeys, from optimizing team design to rethinking workforce agility, AI is turning insight into action, and HR into a data powered engine of strategies. But this isn't about dashboards and algorithms. It's about people. It's about how we personalize, retain, and empower at scale. Today, we are joined by leaders who are not just navigating the shift, they're shaping it. Let's meet the incredible minds behind today's conversation. Starting with Mary Vikram, Director of HR at Prodapt, with over 2 decades in talent management and organizational design. Mary has built frameworks that foster high trust, high performance cultures, from competency based evaluations to internal career pathing. Her work transforms workplace into growth ecosystems. We are honored to have Mary with us. Next, we have Anuja Mittal, Head of People at OakNorth. Anuja blends strategic vision with on ground execution across talent, culture, and change leadership. Her experience spans industries and continents, always with a people first lens. She's deeply passionate about inclusive and forward looking workplaces. And today, she brings that clarity to our table. We're delighted to have Anuja with us as well. And finally, we have Sayan Dutta, Senior Vice President and Head of Talent Acquisition at BNY. A powerhouse in talent acquisition and branding, Sayan has scaled global hiring engines, pioneered predictive analytics in TA, and embedded storytelling into employer brands. From Amazon to Wipro to BNY, his mission has stayed consistent. That is, to build talent pipelines that move at the speed of the business. Sayan, we are excited to hear your insights as well. And now, guiding our conversation today will be Vikas Agrawal, COO at Sharedpro. Vikas is redefining workforce flexibility through AI-powered talent mobility. He's helped companies avoid layoffs by redeploying talent with precision, empathy, and speed. A true believer in hire smarter, not harder. Over to you, Vikas.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you for introduction. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Anuja. Thanks, Sayan, for your time for this session. So, as normally we have, let's not waste a single second. We're limited with some time. So, let me quickly start, Mary, with my first question to you. From driving great place to work initiatives to building employee communication frameworks, you're focused upon trust and culture. Can AI truly understand and enhance these emotional drivers, or are we overstating the potential?
Well, in my context, I've always seen AI as artificial intelligence and definitely not as natural intelligence, right? So, AI is more like a doctor's stethoscope. It can detect the heartbeat, it can probably pick the anomalies, it can tell you where exactly the problem is. But can it help detect exactly what it takes to heal, what it takes to interpret, and how a doctor can interpret that particular aspect of it is something that only human can do. It's more like you have surveys, you have dipsticks, you have a lot of quantitative methodologies in using AI to detect the organizational behavior or the culture of an organization. While the data can show you who's happy, who's engaged, who's disengaged, uh, only a human can actually decipher as to why so and so is unhappy and how that person's unhappiness can be, brought back to an engaged state of mind. So in context, you can say that AI is only helping us do things better. It has its limitations. While AI can have a lot of data related activities, it struggles on anything that's sarcastic, anything that comes as cultural nuances, anything that is an unspoken chaos, all of that can only be done qualitatively through a human intervention. So I would say human plus AI is real impact. AI can provide the signals, human will step in to listen to the signal, interpret that signal, and act on that signal. So AI is a spotlight. It shows you, where to look, and human is, it shows you how exactly you look at it and make the feel of it, better. So here's what I feel, Vikas and everyone.
Thank you, Mary. That's a great point, I would say. I have seen companies where they're using this AI nuggets to understand the employee's mood of the day, of the week, of the month. And based on that, AI creates a feedback. And this is being shared to the managers of theirs, which makes them understand that how their employees are feeling. And if they're feeling low, a manager could connect with them one to one and try to understand why they are feeling low. So that's a wonderful point, Mary. Having AI and human both in a single, we can use both of them as one tool and get the best out of it. That's wonderful, Mary. Anuja, I've got second question to you. You have scaled HR strategies in diverse industries from US healthcare to SaaS. How do you see GenAI helping personalized development journeys for mid-level talent, often unserved group?
Yeah, thanks, Vikas, for the question. I think that's if you step back a little bit and the focus, like you said, is on mid-level talent, right? I think it's important to see and understand why maybe they are an unserved group, right? So at OakNorth, my current organization, for example, business focuses on the missing middle, so to speak, and I think it sort of transcends into this. How the middle level managers today are probably sometimes left a little bit not served as well as the other groups in a company. Simply because I think the focus of organizations largely is on, let's say, broad level upskilling training for entry level careers, sometimes for high potential employees, even for leadership development to a large extent. But where I think the middle level folks are a little bit different is because they've already reached a certain level now, based on their roles in the organization, in the specific function they're in, what they're looking to do, how the organization is scaling, their development needs are a little bit different. They need to be curated, right? And I think that's where, for example, AI can actually augment development very well in the sense of bringing together all of the information which may be relevant for these curated learning journeys. Because that's the grunt work, which I think, any team, any organization may not always have the bandwidth to do in a holistic manner. So, for example, if you're talking about any level, but let's say middle level managers, collating the data in terms of their self reviews, their manager assessments, peer reviews, or any other sort of development intervention that has happened in the organization, and bringing that together firstly in terms of what does that look like for that individual. Secondly, being able to match it with the development interventions that are available in the organization. Third, what kind of open roles are there in the organization? What kind of opportunities are available? And sort of bringing a whole picture together for the individual to say, this is where you are today. This is what you have seen in the organization. This is what's available in the organization. And this is how you can bring this to your manager, your leader, your people partner to take your own development journey forward, right? So this part of it, I think GenAI can do very beautifully. I think only few organizations have probably started doing this, but I think many others are on that journey, right? So, and then once this sort of data or this view is there, right, I think that's where the value of human intervention will come in. I think like Marie was also talking about, that this data alone by itself is probably not very meaningful, because it's after this collation that the insight comes in, wherein looking at the patterns, contextualizing it, sort of triangulating what has happened with the individual in the past, what is happening currently, maybe like a missed promotion, maybe a manager change, did something slow down for the individual, right? You've got to then come in as humans to be able to bring that to life. And that's super important, because without it, it's actually pretty meaningless. But like I said, the GenAI part of doing the grunt work, which then humans don't have to do, which is non-value add work to a large extent, right? GenAI can do very well. So
That's a good point, Anuja. Also, one thing I've noticed, like, there's a company which I know, which they, what they started is now, they let AI suggest the team for the project. AI is aware of the skills the employees have. As you mentioned, by even self-analysis, we get to know how what skills the employee possesses. Even a mid-level skill employee would know, and AI would create a different team based on the requirement of the project. So herein, the benefit what they get is everyone is getting a fair chance if they are aware of that skill. If they know it well, they get a chance and they get to work with different kind of employees and gets different approach as well. So that is how GenAI is also being used right now to work on certain projects as well.
yeah.
Coming to our next panel, Sayan, I'm very excited to have you this question with you. Uh, how will you? So you have already built I'm sorry. You have already built hiring models and led high volume scale up. Looking ahead, how do you see GenAI transform work plannings from being reactive to truly anticipating across talent supply chains in GCCs?
Yeah, I think if I take a step back, I think there's this so much, you know, hype and hoopla about AI today, right? We all are kind of, moving into it and saying that okay, we need to do AI. It seems like we need to brush teeth in the morning, hence we need to do AI. It's kind of becoming like that, and anywhere you go, it's like everyone is talking about AI, and sometimes I do feel a little claustrophobic to be very honest when people start talking about AI without really kind of getting into the needs of AI, or do we need AI in the first place, right? I believe not everybody needs AI. Like not everybody needs to go to the gym, and the journey is very different for everyone. When it comes to workforce planning, I think AI does wonderfully well, and it's not so much about Gen AI. It's more about agentic AI, which can be probably a better fit for workforce planning. And particularly if you talk about GCCs, um, in my organization, we are trying to do that. We have started building. We've announced huge amount of investments with OpenAI and ChatGPT, where we have integrated that entirely into our ecosystem, right? Build our own agents and stuff, etc. So much so that every individual employee can build their own agents today and do their own planning, right? But when it comes to workforce planning, which essentially, and I think Mary and Anuja would kind of empathize with me here, is that it's been a HR nightmare always. I don't see a single global organization who has been able to master how to do workforce planning. And it's not that they're not smart people out there. It's just that there's so many variables which are tied to workforce planning that it's sometimes impossible to put a Excel sheet and template or a model and say, okay, fine, let's do the model, because business does not run on models, right? Your customer doesn't run on models, and workforce planning is mostly built on what your business wants, right? Particularly in technology sector, in services sectors, I have seen where workforce plans are extremely important. It still kind of is probably 50% there. What AI can do is obviously it can kind of minimize and take away this gut feel syndrome that we all people partners or HR people have, saying 50% of it guts or trends or history that kind of drives us, and 50% is analytics, right? That 50% of gut feel kind of comes down to probably say 30% or 25% as you mature to use AI, because you talk about seasonality and stuff, etc., which probably I can predict when it comes to workforce planning, right? The other thing is that AI can do very well, which Anuja also mentioned, is that internal versus external talent, right? It's a very wonderful, powerful technology to use, saying that okay, fine, I know whether I should go internal or I should go external. I know that the start of the year how much internal I can go for, how much external I can go for. That significantly improves your time to hire, time to upskill, time to do anything that you want to, right? And that unlocks that talent supply chain completely. The potential of talent supply chain is completely unlocked to say that, hey, now I have some models in place where a hiring manager, a CIO, or a CF, or anybody, depending upon their persona, can actually go into the agentic and say, hey, I'm the CFO of the company. I want to know what would be the attrition for, say, operations associates in the next 12 months, and some number will be thrown up, not perfect, but something will be there to start the work with, right? What would AI do eventually? It would not talk seats and heads, it would talk skills. It would not talk roles, it will talk about capabilities. For example, I have 15 roles, but I will not hire for the roles. I will hire people and I will fit them for the roles that are for future or for coming in. So capabilities would be much more in focus, and that's kind of would kind of help us. I think the firefighting that HR is doing today when it comes to workforce planning day in day out and trying to find a solution and building models, that would turn to become more futuristic in nature, minus the robes and the, I mean, incense and the whole Avenger kind of thing that we feel that we are today when we are solving workforce. That would probably be scientific in nature. Um, but what also worries me is that we are still not going to be perfect about it. If the industry at large and a lot of people who come to me say that it will solve it, I don't think it is ever going to solve it. And what Mary kind of started the entire panel with saying that you can't replace humans, right? When it comes to AI, essentially she was talking about the partnership between AI and humans, right? You really cannot, right? You can augment it. You can augment the capabilities of everybody, but you can't really replace it and saying I will let go of those people and AI will kind of give me models, give me numbers, give me everything. It cannot do that because AI cannot predict how a person sitting in a particular office suddenly gets up one day and says, I want to put tariffs on someone. AI cannot predict. AI cannot predict a human behavior, which drives a lot of business planning and hence workforce planning. So we have to work backwards. We have to take certain elements of AI and say, okay, fine, can I become more skill based, more capability based, and not a person or a role based that AI can do for us. And that's the only hope we have today to move to that level. And rest of it, leave it to still people like us who understand the business better and than the technology that does it.
Said one thing I want to add over here. Nowadays, I'm seeing a new job which has come up, prompt engineer. So now the role which gets to is I need someone who can use AI. It's kind of a generalist role wherein if we ask you for front end, you can do front end, you can do back end. So that is how when you are talking about skills. So this is a new skill which has come up. I'm seeing a lot of nowadays, wherein people want a generalist role. Even we are looking for one. So a generalist person who is able to do front end, back end using the different AI tools which we have. And coming on this, maybe if we can about this question now, Sayan, about the prediction of skills. So, for example, if we get to know what kind of projects we are about to get for this month or probably for this quarter, we can ask our employees to start working on those skills using AI. If we can start pitch early, if we can start working on those skills, it will be helpful for us to have those guys trained before we get the project. So that is something I feel on this part as well.
Yeah, I think that this entire thing about upskilling people ahead of the curve or ahead of the time, I think we all have done that, right? Who have been in the industry and across industries I've worked. I've worked in product services. Now I'm working in a bank. In some factors, some people are extremely mature about upskilling because they understand the technology better. Some people are still kind of finding their feet out there, right? It's at different maturity levels in terms of finding out that what skills are needed for the future and then hence skilling people. The only challenge with that, and it's a trap here, is that technology is moving extremely fast. I mean, if as I said that even 3 months back we were talking about GenAI. I feel GenAI is getting obsolete in the next 6 to 8 months. People are going to talk about agentic AI, and you will see agentic AI being taken over by something else because billions and billions of dollars are being spent every day by organizations just to stay ahead of the curve, right? So what will you upskill at the end of the day, right? I really feel I really empathize with my L&D team sometimes and saying when they come and say, what should I upskill a person on, right? How do I make a succession planning? On what basis, right? Because things are changing so fast. It's not what it was even a year back, right? I feel I'm a dinosaur right now. I have a Pegasaurus or something right now who is fit only for animations and movies, and I don't know what's happening for the rest of the time when I'm setting into the office, because Gen Z or Gen Alpha, they're so fast today to adopt anything that is coming and gobbling it up and then moving to the next level. That upskilling is sometimes becoming impossible. The only thing that you can do as a people partner, or so to say, to play your role in a very strategic and very business oriented manner is just to ensure that the core capabilities of people are not going to change, right? So if I am hiring or selecting a person, I rather select the person on some basic acumen or business acumen or intellect they come with. This can be taught, right? And if these people are smart, they will figure out a way to get taught themselves. They will create their own pathways. They will create their own things. They will create their own things. Prompt engineer, for example, right? I also hear it. Now, trust me, it's a very simple thing to become a prompt engineer. You don't need to be a techie to become a prompt engineer. You need to be smart and have common sense. You need to understand how human brain works and how 2 + 2 = 4 and sometimes can be 5. That's all you need to know to become a prompt engineer. All 4 of us sitting here will take 5 minutes to become prompt engineers. To be very honest, with the kind of technologies we have, it's a plug and play device end of the day, right? Okay, is that easy? But do I have that acumen, intent, interest to get there and do it is what matters. And I believe if AI can start judging or evaluating those factors in an individual, then give them any role to do and become any much futuristic you want to, it will happen. And I think we as humans or proponents of the practice have to tell AI and design AI in what we want from them and not what it wants us to do. I think we are still in the phase or getting into the trap of saying, hey, let AI drive me. It can never happen that AI can drive you. We have to drive AI to make it work for us and not the other way around, be whatever skill sets we talk about today.
Vikas, if I may step in and give an example of prompt for a second, right? So just very recently in my team, and this is related to talent acquisition and onboarding, but we were working on, so as a bank, again, we have too many regulatory responsibilities. And so background verification of employees is a very important part of the journey. We, in fact, have to do refresher background verification every year for all employees. Smaller, but we still have to. And so, but even in the beginning, right, so we have employees in the UK and US and in India, we have different agencies, right, which we work with for this. The reports are pretty long. Usually we have to be able to keep a tracker of, every single employee. We have to share it onward with, different groups of people, etc. So just this task of going through every background verification report in detail, creating an Excel out of it, making sure it's a, clean report format and then sending it onward was something that the team was spending a lot of time on. But to be able to write the prompt, which Sayan was talking about, right, while it may seem difficult, and it did take the team, I think, more than 70 attempts. But the fact is that they were enabled to be able to do that and take the time to be able to do that. They wrote a 4-page prompt. Just a prompt by itself was 4 pages long. But now they've been able to, crack it. So reports just get uploaded and an Excel, report comes in play, right? So I think to Sayan's point, and I think, like we were saying, the grunt work can be done, right? So it is these things that can be done by AI, but we still have to train it. So the prompt took 70 attempts, but we didn't need a prompt engineer. We are all, HR folks in my team. And we just kept playing with it. So one additional point that I'm just adding in here is that I think as an organization, what we also can do is enable the teams with the infrastructure and the room to experiment and play with things, right? So that's what I think, one of the things that I think all organizations are starting to do is, whether it's OpenAI, whether it's Claude, whether it's, whatever else that, you may be working with as an organization. I think for us, for example, when we did give licenses, enterprise licenses to ChatGPT, it freed up people from the fear of, can I put this data on to an external platform?
Correct.
Right? Because initially, when people are on their own sort of, ChatGPT sort of, user ID password, you are worried about whether you can put, what data can you put or not. But when it's an enterprise license that you're taking, you're not worried about that, and you can experiment and play with it. So I think most organizations are probably in that phase right now where they're doing that. And every team is therefore creating their own sort of, agentic AI tools, pages, etc., and seeing what leverage they can get out of it. So yes, I think I agree with Sayan that, we have to shape what we want to use AI for and what we want to use GenAI for example, versus the other way around. But the transformative power does exist for freeing up human time and value.
Correct, Anuja. So even talking about this BGV, I recently got a case wherein the candidate was trying to fake some of his reports, certificate signing, and it was very difficult for a human to crack it. So honestly, it was just about some percentile or something. So when we put all the data across GPT, Chat GPT, so it took some time, but within minutes, it gave us a feedback that there is some manipulation with the data, which we are able to see. And for a human brain, it's very difficult to have those calculations done. And you feel normally it should not be any problem. But this is something which is giving upper hand to us in BGVs as well to understand if there is an anomaly where someone is trying to take some experience or something is there. So this gives you upper hand on such reports as well.
True.
Mary, one question to you. I wanted to
Yes.
understand, if given a blank state, how would you design an AI first organization that still nurtures creativity, belonging, and trust?
Okay. See, I think it's starting from hiring to your exit. So hire to fire, that you need to look at. And at every step of your journey in an organization, AI can make a huge difference in it. It's like you want to kind of develop a self-driven car by yourself. Different engines, different methodologies, different things happen. However, the experience part of it is still given by the human being. So when you talk about talent acquisition, strategic workforce planning, Sayan spoke about it at length, right? While you can use predictive modeling tools, GenAI, using agentic AI to source the right skill for the right role and things like that, all of that can happen. However, there are organizations, I know of a telecom firm who does complete, sourcing and filtering and everything using AI. However, when it comes to the cultural alignment, when it comes to the interpersonal skills, when it comes to the trust aspect of, can I trust this person? Of course, trust is a huge word here. However, when you say, is this person manipulative or is this person being true to what they are saying? Am I seeing a person true to themselves, or is there a fake identity being created? In that aspect of it, you definitely need human intervention. That's on the talent acquisition part of it, or your workforce planning part of it. When it comes to your talent management, your retention, your employee engagement experience aspect of it, of course, there's a lot of things that we do. I'm an exhaustive a part of this Great Place to Work surveys that happen. There's a trust index score. There's a cultural score. Everything comes into play. Lot of matrices available in the system. Lot of effort being put to get those slice and dice of those different reports. However, when it comes to the actual inference of that data, it is a human being who has to come into play. All the data is there. AI will also give you the slice and dice. It will give you demographic wise. It will give you whether there is a DEI aspect of it, a diversity, equity, inclusivity aspect of it. It will give you everything. However, the personalized intervention should happen to make it holistic when it comes to the talent management aspect of it. We spoke so much about skills. While we can always do a succession plan, like Sayan was clearly saying that what is the permutation and combination we are looking at for a succession plan today? Because technology is not evolving in a phased manner. Technology is evolving. You sleep, you get up. Today's technology is gone. There's a new thing that's coming. Everybody was talking of GenAI a couple of months back. Today they're talking agentic AI, and tomorrow, I mean, they're already speaking of something called as practical AI. And my organization is completely into the AI way of working. We have our own GPT model for our employees to use it. So compliance is also taken care of. Anuja was talking about giving the licenses. Here, our people are able to use a chat GPT, a version of GPT within our organization. People come up with minutes of the meetings in no time. There is a transcript available. You just have to upload the transcript and it'll give you the minutes. It'll give you the actions. It'll give you everything. So when you have all this in place, if you have to develop an organization which is completely only AI, I don't think that's the model we would like to even look at. All of it that is redundant, that is monotonous, can be automated. All of it that needs that human creativity, human emotion, all that should coexist as a parallel approach. It, like how you have the four wheels that enable the car to drive seamlessly. You will need AI, you will need human intervention, you will need qualitative, you will need quantitative, you will need all of this to come into picture to actually make an organization successful. What I would not conclude, but I think what I would like to say is that bringing all of this together, I would say AI can listen, but only a human can understand. So most of the aspects where you have a lot of work to do, like the grunt work Anuja was saying, that AI can do, right? AI can guide you, but only people can actually inspire and bring that experience aspect of it. In today's GCCs that, everybody's been talking of GCCs, everybody's talking of building a truly AI first organization. But I would say AI first with human-centered workplace is what will help any organization amplify, because there's something called as empathy, which I don't think an AI can even decipher. It would be too lopsided if an AI is actually deciphering a large language model, bringing that model together, trying to anticipate, decipher, and come up with that inference. It could be lopsided. You definitely need human beings to decode what AI is trying to tell you, right, with deeper conversations. So I would say human aspect of it, yes, is totally important. AI has definitely made life a lot easier, a lot less stressful. However, the stress has gone into a different direction on who's going to crack that AI code first, which organization is going to actually be there at the top, kind of a stress aspect of it. However, yes, AI, when computers came into play years ago, I'm just dating back to when computers came into play, everybody said, hey, computers will take over human, right? Today, about 5 years back, my organization was into IoT. And when everybody was talking of Internet of Things, we were all thinking, okay, again, we are all gone. IoT is going to do all the work, kind of a thing. And today we are talking of GenAI, AI, agentic AI, and probably practical AI, and I don't know what other AI is going to come by. Everywhere we see that work has only become more for human beings in terms of empathy, emotional intelligence, and creativity. And a lot of it depends on the how aspect of it. Maybe the what and the why aspect AI can do, but the how aspect of it, it's always done through human beings. So in summary, I'd like to say, we definitely love to build an AI first organization with a lot of things being done by AI, GenAI, agentic AI. However, all of it should be scripted and prompted by human. If you really want this world to be a good place to be in, looking at the sustainability aspect as well, In my way, I would say it's a blend of both. I wouldn't like to give a percentile saying AI is this percent and human is this percent, but overall it should be a balanced approach, trying to complement each other rather than doing away with something and justifying the other.
Thank you, Mary. One question I had with me for culture you mentioned about. So, do you think sentimental analysis can help you judge a candidate when interview is going on, or for example, when you are just seeing the candidate for the first time, and you have this sentimental analysis? Can we judge the candidate if he is going to be a fit for our culture, or what parameters would be helpful for us to judge on that?
See, what is sentiment? Sentiment is about your frame of mind for that particular moment, for that particular day. Say you got up in a very bad mood, but your day, you always script your day, right? Your day is going to be like this. These are your agenda items in your professional life. These are your BAU habits in your personal life and all of that. A day you just get up and everything that you start goes wrong. What happens to your sentiment? You want to be happy, you want to have a great day, but your sentiment is completely gone for a toss. And that day, you're running a dipstick survey in the organization. Unfortunately, Mr. X or Miss Y has come with a very bad mood, okay? And your entire survey results go, and say 80% of your crowd is like that. Immediately after an appraisal, if the appraisal is not very great, your entire survey data, everything goes for a toss. So sentiment analysis can give you permutations and combinations of different sentiments. It could be a psychometric one, it could be cognitive, it could be your interpersonal skills, it could be your facial expression, it could be your gestures. However, to interpret that and come to to decipher and analyze and come up with an inference that so and so is a positive person, is probably going through something as a small rough patch, but overall has been a very positive outlook kind of a person and is a best fit to the organization, is something that only human can do. Sentiment analysis is really good because it also gives you an overall picture of what actually is happening in that person's immediate activities. It depends, right? It depends on the immediate activities and it depends on the frame of mind of the person. However, can it be taken at face value is something that I don't personally believe in, because I've seen people in that particular meeting, they're so too upset. The minute they step out, they're happy. So if you're taking a sentiment inside the room and outside the room, the sentiment is going to be completely different, right? So I would say, again, very good methods of doing all of this. Every organization uses this: dipstick, sentiment analysis, proactive retention methods, predictive analysis, all of that. However, all of this should be in hand in glove with human intervention, taking the highest seat rather than just data, numbers, and some kind of a look and feel. I would say it has to be deep. It has to go into a human intervention to come up with that. And if need be, only a human can tell, I think I need a little more to this, right? So probably a few more probing questions will help understand the person better and not just the sentiment of that moment. That's my take on sentimental analysis. Vikas.
Thank you, Mary. So adding to this question, Anuja, if AI begins recommending people decision, what are the checks you believe HR leaders must build to protect dignity, context, and fairness?
Yeah, I think one of the keywords here is recommending, right, that you had in the question. So if AI starts recommending people decisions, so it's really
Correct.
just that, a recommendation, firstly, right? So the decision is not being taken by AI, and I think we should all be very clear about it. I think, most organizations are being very careful. So there is an angle of course, data privacy, consent, cybersecurity, risk. I think all of these layers need to be, taken care of. It is an ecosystem, so which means this is not HR alone, for sure, right? Every single leader in the organization, every single function should be very well aware of the risks of using AI for anything or using GenAI for anything, but from a people perspective, one is, of course, like I said, consent. So if we are using employee information, collecting employee information from various tools, even within the organization, and sharing it onward, employees should be aware. Just like performance feedback or peer reviews, right? Employees are well aware that, XYZ individuals in the organization can see this. Similarly, if we are using a curated, sort of output from GenAI and sharing it with a manager or with the HR team, employees should be aware of it. So one is that. Second is the communication that every organization should do at every level, like I said, starting from the top in terms of what are the risks and what does this mean for the organization in terms of how do we take this forward from a security perspective, like I said. And as far as fairness and dignity is concerned, I think we've been speaking about it. It's, I think, very clear that at least for the next, I don't know how many years, but maybe forever, AI will not be the decision maker in anything and should not be, right? We have to put guardrails in place to be able to say this is an input, this is a recommendation. We have to get a human intervention, a human outlook to be able to make the decisions. And I think all of us have said, but being able to contextualize things is super important. There is so much that goes on behind an output that AI will throw. Even if it is, for example, like Mary said, sentiment analysis from a survey, right? You can't just take it at face value. If 3 people have said something on one particular day, then things are abysmal, right? And we must go into action mode and solve it for the team, right? There has to be sort of involved discussion still with the employees, which is the age-old way of doing things, right? You do a survey and then you go and talk to employees about what they have said, why they've said what they've said, et cetera, right? You've got to augment that with a human element, right? So you can do the survey, but I think this is where humans need to augment what data is being thrown at us by survey, interpret it, talk to people still, right? Don't forget talking to people about what this means. Whether it was, let's say, the development conversation we were talking about, a manager needs to talk to an employee about, hey, this is what, we are seeing, AI throw at us, but what does it mean for you? How does it work for you or not, right? What can we do differently? How can I help you triage the situation? What open roles am I aware of? Who can we, get you as a mentor, etc. Right? So whether it's a development conversation, whether it's survey feedback, wherever we are using AI, I think one is the security aspect, one is the human intervention aspect, which we've got to bring in. And that's where I think HR plays a big role in making sure these guardrails are in place.
Correct. A lot of times it is possible, Anuja, that AI can go wrong if they have some other data with them. Like recently, I got across this platform which does interrogations for suspects. So if you give some past input to that AI that this guy has done something wrong in past, AI assumes that he might be the culprit this time as well, because the data which they had with them, AI had with them, that he was a culprit in past, but that doesn't mean he's a culprit today as well. So that is very, very important, wherein human intervention is definitely needed to understand what responses AI is giving to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense.
So next question, Sayan, to you. What excites or worries you most about a future where GenAI is not just assisting interviews, but anonymously running them at scale?
Yeah, I think Anuja and Mary kind of touched upon a lot of things here, right? But I think I will just touch upon. I will start with only one thing. Most organizations today are looking at culture as a key proponent or driver of selection, right? And culture cannot be scanned. You can't expect culture to be evaluated or scanned by a technology or whatever, how much ever do data you feed in. Okay, because it's not an extremely subjective thing, but it's also not very tangible in that sense. Culture fit or culture add is very subtle in its own way, right? Um, it's like you are looking at the behavior of a person. When I'm talking to a person, I'm looking at the behavior of a person. You can't let a bot do that. You need a human person sitting and understanding the body language, understanding how they behave, how they interact or respond or process. There's a difference between responding and there's difference between processing, right? The better hires that I have made in my career are the people who can process better than vis-a-vis can respond better, because then the response always is better, right? But some people will jump into responses. AI cannot differentiate between that processing and responding. There's a very subtle human things, right? That's one thing. Otherwise, everything can be very easy and very, very simple. Second, we are talking about AI becoming objective and humans being subjective. I believe it's an illusion of objectivity that we are bringing in today when it comes to AI. AI cannot be objective in its modeling. It has to become subjective because it is running on past data. LLMs are running on numerous amount of modeling that has been done based on historical trends and data. So like you said that, if it was a culprit once, it will throw out similar red flags, right? But people change, people's career change. Some miss here, some career break here. AI will not know the reason behind it, and it will not predict and say that, okay, fine, I will not take this. If you allow AI to, and we all are allowing AI to today do the first level of screening, and it's extremely, false positive or false negative coming in here, because you're looking at keywords. And candidates are smart. They know that AI there's a tool there which is screening their resumes. They're building resumes based on AI. So AI being used to create resumes to beat AI, right? And it's a loop, it's a quantum loop that you're continuously getting into, and you do not know and how to get into it. Like it's like the matrix you are into in. You know how to get in, you don't know how to get out, right? And hence that, the interviewer has to see beyond that shutter that you have, right? They have to probe deeper for an answer. The other point here is that this entire thing about over optimizing the entire interviewing process, the selection process, I personally don't really a big fan of it. I mean, you're over optimizing what the problem you're trying to solve, right? We need to optimize for efficiency, not serendipity, right? We're trying to optimize for serendipity here. Ask anybody who have made the smart choice of hiring. The smart hires are those who are not the ones who come from assembly line production, who have something different in them, something has sparked in them, and something has clicked in them. It's an off-script thing that has happened, which made us hire them, and which have taken bigger roles, right? I mean, all of us who have achieved something in life have not achieved it doing the same thing repetitively again and again. We had to do something different, and AI looks for repetitions today. It looks for serendipity today. It doesn't look for off the cuff, off the color things. So this entire process that today is happening, that I want to automate my interview process, I think the better and the smarter organizations are not really for automation. Therefore, taking AI to do, as everyone is saying, the grunt work or the initial work, and from then they're using it as a tool, as an assistant, maybe AI as an assistant and not AI as a decision maker. And obviously regulatory things do not allow you to recommend, right? Like Anuja said, right? You can't recommend. You're not allowed to a machine cannot recommend. It's fraught with risk. It's fraught with a lot of legal complications and implications. So obviously we do not use it for recommendation. We use it for assistance, and it should be kept as assistance. So I do not worry that whether AI will take it up. My worry is that I am for augmentation, but you use it for flagging, you use it for marking, you use it for co-conduct, because there will be a lot of junk resumes and candidates that will come in, and you can shift them and filter them. It can be a filtration process. But the moment you try to automate it, you are delegating the decisions. You don't delegate decisions. Decisions you still take, right? Delegation is about work, right? We are outsourcing judgment if you are automating things, right? So, but the judgment at its core is deeply and delicately and definitely human. So not automate it, make it as an assistant to you to filter things. And as long as we are sticking to that level and not over-engineering it to make the best hire, because it cannot make the best hire ever, I am fine with the entire process the way it is today.
Then adding to it, you mentioned about AI assisting in interviews. So that is something which is very crucial I'm seeing nowadays, wherein recruiter has a AI assistant with them which helps them to understand if the candidate is answering it correctly or incorrect. Because if a recruiter asks a technical question with a coding question to a candidate, it becomes difficult for someone who doesn't know coding to judge if the candidate's response is correct or incorrect. But while using AI as an assistant, it gives you better feedback that it tells you that the code which the candidate has written is correct, incorrect, what wrong things they have written. So that gives a step ahead for the recruiter to judge that profile. As you mentioned earlier, a lot of candidates are using AI to beat AI. So this is something which is a step ahead where recruiter can use AI to beat that AI as well.
Yeah. So again, my view is that why would you want anyone to judge anyone based on technicals as a human being, right? You can do it by machine. We have been doing it for ages now. Technical interviews are always, I mean, for a long time have been machine led. Now probably it has become much more evolved. You have bots, you have video chats and everything, which is machine led. A machine is throwing questions and they're answering it, right? I mean, these are standard adaptive tests, right? The more difficult things you answer, the more difficult the question becomes, and then the machine can really help you to kind of say, okay, fine, they have scored so much. That's a very technical part of it, right? I believe nobody should be doing that. A machine can always do that part, right? And there's a basic filtration technique also. Like, I believe that anybody who wants to become a techie today, okay, they should not be even sending their resumes to me. Let them take a test. They can be a non-techie also taking a coding test. Why not, right? And they might be passing a coding. I might know coding. I might not be an engineer, but I know coding. It's my this thing. Why can't they be also be evaluated for engineer role? Just because they don't have a degree doesn't mean that they can't be coding, right? Or they can't be AI engineers, right? We have examples of that where non-engineers are great coders also sometimes, right? So let them do that and let AI and machine take care of that completely at the first level of it, right? This is very technical. There's nothing human about it. But once they pass those things, then let them come and say, okay, fine. Then you don't need AI. A recruiter then should be always looking at culture fit, or a hiring manager should be looking at culture fit, should be looking at how the person behaves in stressful situations. Can the person take pressure? Can the person take decisions? Now that, I believe, cannot be done based on a standard set of questions that the prompt engineer throws for you and says, ask these 5 questions for this particular level, for this particular role, and then make it very objective to know and rate them in certain level. And today recruiters also do that actually. You will see a technology which will say, okay, fine, I am hiring a product manager for this particular level and this particular role with so much experience who will make a loans product. Give me 10 questions to ask this person. And the prompt will give you 10 questions, nice 10 questions. You will pick them up, you will copy paste and start asking them like an AI also. Sometimes you will forget that you are a human being and you will just rattle them off, right? In an automated voice sometimes also, right? And it will also recommend you the answers. This should be the right answers. And then you will look at those answers and say, oh, this is closer to this answer, this guy is good. But the moment you do that, it sounds extremely fancy, efficient, and optimized. But that's what I say is the risk of over-optimization, over-engineering. You are not solving the right problem. The problem is not about efficiency. The problem is serendipity, and you are bringing more serendipity and more subjectivity into the whole thing because the AI is giving you responses based on what you have fed them, not what it thinks is right. End of the day, we are feeding them responses, 1,000 responses, they're picking up and saying this is the best response. So where is the objectivity there, right? You're going by past historical data to bring a future person into the organization. Doesn't work like that. Leave it at certain point and then let humans take care of it. I mean, we are here to do a role, right? We can't let machines to do our job in the way we expect us to do that, right? And that's where the entire thing should probably start and probably take a pause also and let us do our job kind of a thing.
Thank you, Sayan. Thank you for your wonderful response. I guess we have got few audience questions with us. Let me just go through it once. This one question I want to add for someone starting out in HR or analytics, what's one GenAI skill they should learn and to stay relevant to it? Can Anuja, you take this question?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think like, again, we've said, right, I think GenAI is only as smart as the question you ask. So, which in this parlance translates into the prompt. So I think if you're starting out on a GenAI journey, then learning how to prompt, I think, is one, I would say, and being patient, and having the ability to check whether the answer that you're getting is actually right and relevant or not. I think so. These related to the prompt, right? I think are the two other aspects of being patient, because, like I just said, right, we had like to go through 70 iterations to get a 4-page prompt to get to one output that we thought was appropriate and relevant. So, which needs being able to know how to prompt, what to prompt for, being patient, and checking and rechecking what GenAI is throwing at you.
That's absolutely correct. So as we discussed earlier, AI can make us a lot of mistakes. So it's very important for us to judge if the answers which we are getting is correct or incorrect. Absolutely. May I just have one question for you as well? For organizations just starting their GenAI journey, what's a realistic first use case in public analytics that can show quick and ethical values?
When you're talking of, see, ethical values, it's a huge word, right? When it comes to ethics, when it comes to a lot of these aspects where there is a lot of deliberation to even understand how ethically a company can work and what is the compliance that you need to have and all of that. But if there is one thing I'd like to tell when it comes to starting off your AI journey, uh, don't share too much of your data into a public chat GPT domain. That would be one major aspect of it, because you don't know the authenticity of how much of it is taken, what is being cloned into a different, and how it is being utilized or used, right? So use the public domains predominantly to understand different variances of how you can use the use case, rather than giving your actual data and asking a GPT or a public domain to give you the results or even give you recommendations, if not results, right? Be very watchful, because data protection is something that all of us need to be very, very worried about. Of course, we have a lot of disclaimers saying this data, if you use an enterprise thing, it would not be shared and all of that. We don't know how much of it technology can fall bizarre. You don't know, right? It can just go beyond comprehension. So be very careful of what kind of data you're sharing on public domains. Be very careful about, all of us keep talking about prompt engineering, right? It also depends on how you're thinking in that particular moment, on your creativity, on how you are framing those questions or the entire statement for AI to give you the response. If you're, again, lopsided, for example, I know of a situation when there was something that was typed on ChatGPT as a joke. Yes, in the Indian context, it could be a joke. In the US context, it just could not, it just could sue you in court, right? So you need to be also very, very careful on what kind of cultural nuance you're looking at, what kind of questions you're putting in, what kind of statements, what is your language that you're using in domains as these. So anything that you do, I think you should get the basics right. Always get your basics right. Don't expect 100% from artificial intelligence ever. Natural intelligence always gives you a better bid. It definitely gives you a higher weightage, because of you're using your senses. You're using a lot of activity when you're trying to decide and take a decision. All the other things can be like your prompts and your feeders to the decision that you're making. So anything that you begin, whether you're going to start a new GCC, whether you're going to start a new entity, a new portfolio, whatever it is, keep your basics in control, and don't overdo. And like Sayan and Anuja keep telling, they've been talking about this. Let's not leave everything to AI. Let's give that boundary to AI and let us do most of it with our creativity. That's what I would like to say.
I know we are short of time. Sayan, I have one question with me if you would like to take it.
Sure.
So this one question we have for fast growing GCCs, how do you balance hiring fresh talent using reusing skills already in the ecosystem, especially when AI can help surface them?
I think you need to level it in a way where okay, so I'm assuming fresh talent would be early career talent, what you're looking for, or even if you're
Right.
getting it out fresh in the market, right? Or lateral talent that we talk about, and vis-a-vis the internal talent or reusing of skills. I am a big proponent of saying that look internal first, and then look external, right? Because it comes with a lot of commercial convenience and other things, right? So that's a given thing. I'm not getting into that part of it, but AI can only help surface, and Anuja, I think, brought it during the initial part of our conversation, saying that this matching that AI can do today, right, in terms of how much is available internally and how much is available externally, and then take a decision on it. I don't think there is a single shot yes or no answer to this, because it would really depend upon the skill sets that you're looking for. Traditionally, certain organizations, because of what they are into and what business they are into, would have certain skill sets which they can easily master and procure internally. And certain organizations are in a building phase, and hence they need to get it from outside. Big organizations, whether it's a GCC or not, for example, will have lakhs and lakhs of coders already available to them who can be easily skilled and trained, right, in any technology that is coming up. And it's faster also, because they understand culture, they understand process, they understand business mechanism, everything, right? So they can be easily trainable, faster trainable, deployment is faster, ramp up is faster. Vis-a-vis someone with just starting out, they probably don't have that force with them to do it internally, and hence they have to go external. And AI, I don't think AI can help you surface that balance. What AI in a mature organization can do, because AI works on language models end of the day, right? And language models are about data being transformed into information, as simple as that, right? Now, if you don't have the data with you, you can't do anything without that, right? Today, anything you do with AI, it has to have to able to process large amount of data in a lightning speed, right? But if you can't have that data with you, it's as just a fancy tool, sitting outside on your drawing room, right? It's like Alexa that's not working, right? So hence, the balance has to be based on the maturity and the learning curve that the organization is into, and not necessarily what kind of skill sets they want to hire for or levels they want to hire for. If you are a mature organization, then you should leverage AI for anything you want to do, and decide that, okay, if it makes sense to do internal hiring vis-a-vis external hiring. But if you're not a mature organization and have that large enterprise kind of a workforce with you, then you need to go external. The decision is not about whether I should use AI or not. The decision is about at what level of maturity as an organization I am in to take the right advantage of AI. That's where I would kind of take a pause.
Thank you, Sayan. Thank you for your response. It was a wonderful session, and I know I have taken some extra time from you guys, but I thoroughly enjoyed this session. Thank you, Anuja. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Sayan, for your time.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thanks for the
We
wonderful
have Vivek with
questions.
us, I guess, to just over this session.
Right.
Hi, Rohit.
So, a wonderful session today as well. Today's discussion reminded us that people analytics isn't just about metrics, it's about meaning. It's about seeing individuals, not just data points. And with GenAI, we now have the tools to listen more deeply, act more precisely, and lead more boldly. From Mary's insights on culture building and role based design to Anuja's lens on inclusive transformation to science lessons on scaling personalization in hiring, we've heard how HR is being reimagined from inside out. This wasn't just a panel, it was a glimpse into the future of workforce leadership. A heartfelt thank you to all our panelists for bringing such clarity, candor, and vision. And to our audience, thank you for being a part of this evolving story. At Shared Future, we believe the workplace for tomorrow isn't built with either people or AI, it's built with both, in harmony. So as we sign off, we leave you with one question. What will you co-create with this new intelligence? Until next time, thank you for joining us and see you at the next edition of Shared Future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.